Hey everybody, it's Mr. N again, and today's lesson is basically circles in a coordinate plane. So the basics of what we are going to do today is writing equations of circles. You've already been taught equations of particular things, like you know the equation of a line, and you've learned it as y equals mx plus b. You've also learned it as y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. You've learned it as also ax plus by equals c. So you've learned it in many different formats. Some of these are this last one is standard form. And you've also learned the equation of a parabola. Last year you covered that, and that was y equals x squared. Well, now we're going to do something a little different, which is a circle. Now, the equation of a circle, if you have a circle here in a coordinate plane with center right here, we're going to just call this, at this point, we're going to say it's the origin, 0, 0. And then we have some sort of radius here, which is also that radius right there. The equation of a circle, and this is how we get this. It's the relationship between x squared and y squared, like this, gives you r squared, Pythagorean theorem. And that relationship will hold wherever I put r, all the way around. So we can conclude that the equation of a circle is x squared plus y squared equals r. But now, what if I shift it from this origin, the center, to somewhere else? So when we do that, here's a situation down here where the origin is right here and my circle is centered somewhere else. Well, what I have to do is subtract out what I moved in the x, subtract out what I moved in the y for the center point, and that's all it is. It's going to be x minus h quantity squared, because we're going to subtract out what I moved from the h, the shift, and then what I moved from the x, and what I moved from the y, we'll call that value k. So we subtract that out, so it'll be x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. So this would be the standard equation of a circle. So let me change this for my cousin who likes me to use the lightsaber here. H and K is the center, and your radius would be R. So R is our radius, and this H and that K value, that's just the coordinate of our center point. So the equation of a circle was pretty simple. Now, I can even take this, and it's not in our notes here, but I'm going to take it a step further. And I'm going to ask you guys this. Let's put this on the side over here, and let's see. What if I had a sphere? Now I'm adding in a third dimension. How do you think it'll change this equation right here? How do you think it'll change that if I had a sphere? Well, the way it changes is that you end up with a third axis, because now we're three-dimensional. So you just say, we can say that the center is at h, k, and another variable that we can introduce, you can just call it L. You could have called it anything you want. So this would be the center. So your three coordinates, because now we're three-dimensional. So it would just be x minus h squared plus y minus k squared plus, now our third axis would be z minus L squared equals your r squared. So this would be how we can write the equation of a sphere, just in case you come across those problems, or I might even ask you that problem. So it's not much different. It's the same as this equation here for a circle. We're just adding the third axis right there. And as you can see, that's pretty much it for the lesson. There's not much. It's just on these basic equations of circles. So let's turn to page 311, and then in our student journals, and then we're going to do problems number 1 through 12. So for this first problem, it says, write the standard equation of a circle. So here's our circle. Our center's at 0, 0. And we have a radius here of 2, 4, 6, 8. So our center is, oops, let's choose a better color here. Our center is at 0, 0. And our radius, we said, was 2, 4, 6, 8. So x minus 0 squared, y minus 0 squared equals 8 squared. Remember, that's h and k. So we're just going to say x squared plus y squared equals 64 as our final answer. For the second one, we've got, here is our origin, so we're not centered at the origin. We're off the center. So you can pretty much locate where that center is going to be, and you can test it by seeing, is it the same radius when I go in all directions? So it's easier just to go in the 4 directions, right, left, up, and down. So over here I'm going to go, these are, again, these are in ones now, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I did find the center there. So now we can list what the center coordinate is, and that's at 2, 2. And we said our radius was 4 because we went 4 in every direction. So our center is at 2, 2. Our radius is 4. So it's going to be x. This is our h. There's our k. Remember, it's x minus h squared y minus k squared equals r squared. So this will be x minus 2 squared plus y minus 2. This was our h. This was our k squared equals r squared. So 4 squared. So x minus 2 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals 16. All right, moving on to the next problem. Here they don't give us a graph, but they do give us the center, which is 0, 0, and the radius, which is 1/3. So since it's 0, 0, that's just going to be x squared plus y squared, right? Because there's my h and k. And then 1/3, and then we have to square that. So x squared plus y squared equals 1/9. All right, and moving on to the next one, we've got a circle with center at, here's your h, there's your k, there's your radius. Remember, it's x minus h squared, y minus k squared equals r squared. Okay, so this will be x minus -3. So that gives me x plus 3 squared. This will be y minus -5. So that'll be y plus 5. So plus y plus 5 squared equals radius of 8 squared, which would be 64. All right, let's take a look at what we got next. We'll move this up. And this time it says, in 5 and 6, use the information given to write the standard equation of a circle. So for this one, the center is 0, 0. Oops, let's get the pen back. The center is at 0, 0, and a point on the circle is that. So if you think about it, they're telling us what a point is, knowing that the center is at 0, 0. So if I quickly sketch what's going on, just to make this visual for you, we have a center here, 0, 0, and we have a point 1, 2, 3, 4, -1, 2, 3, that is on the circle right there. So this is at 4, -3, and that's a point on the circle. So I know the center, so that part of it is easy. This is h and k. Let's use another color here. So this is h and k, so this will be x squared plus y squared equals r squared. I just need to find what this r is. Well, I can just use the Pythagorean theorem. That's 4, that's 3. 4 squared plus 3 squared equals your r squared. And those of you that see this will recognize that this is a 3, 4, 5 Pythagorean triple, so r is going to be 5. And if you're not sure, work this out. You'll get 16 plus 9, 25, square root of that is 5. So you end up with x squared plus y squared equals 5, so that's 25, 5 squared. All right. So for the next one, it's pretty similar. We have the center at 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right here. But then a point on the circle is at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right there. So that's 0, 8. Now that's the center, so our radius will be like that. So here's what we can do with this. We've got a center at 4, 5, so there's h and k. So let's start the problem like we normally would, because we know x minus h squared, y minus k squared, equals r squared. So x minus h squared plus y minus equals r squared. We don't know what the r is. We do know what the h and k are. So we know so far it's x minus 4 squared plus y minus 5 squared. Now, the hard part is finding this r. Well, you got the equation. You know over here what this point is at. This point is at 4, 5, and you know that's 0, 8. You can use the distance formula to find the distance from 4, 5 to 0, 8, or you could just use Pythagorean theorem again, since you kind of quickly graphed it from over here. We went from 0 to 4, that's a distance of 4, and then we went from 5, that's at 5, and that's at 8, so that's at a distance of 3. Again, we've got a 3, 4 right triangle right here, so r would be 5. Again, if you're not sure, you could use the distance formula, and you're taking the distance from these 2 points. You could say the square root of 4 minus 0 squared plus 5 minus 8 squared. That'll give you 4 squared plus 3 squared. Square root of that. The distance will be 16 plus 9, square root of 25, which is 5, and that's what your radius is going to be. So we can put that in here, 5 squared. So x minus 4 squared plus y minus 5 squared equals our 25. All right, let's move on to the next problem. Okay, so for this next problem, number 7, it says find the center and the radius of a circle, then graph the circle. Obviously here we can find what the center, h and k, is, and that's for this one, 0, 0. And this, remember, is r squared. So r will be the square root of 225, so r is going to be 15. So the center we said is 0, 0, r is 15. That's that part of it. Now we can graph it real quick, and we can just do this in fives. We'll say the center is 0, 0. This is 5, 10, 15, 5, 10, 15, 5, 10, 15, 5, 10, 15. And I sketched my circle as best as I could here. I could use the tool and make it perfect, but that's okay. For the next one, we've got a center. Now be careful. H and K, what's your value for H? Your value for H is 3. But what's your value for K? If it helps you, write this as y minus negative 2. So there's your K value. A lot of you need to get used to that. That's where some of your mistakes are going to be, right in here. You will not pay attention to this. Remember, the equation says minus. So if you don't see a minus in there, you need to make this number a negative, right? So if it's positive, you'll take the opposite of it. And then the radius here will be the square root of 16, right? Square root of 16 equals your radius, which will be 4. So let's plot this out. So I'm going to put my axes, I'm going to shift my axes over a little bit and a little bit higher because I'm looking at these values. I wish they would just put in the axes for you, but it's okay. So we are at 1, 2, 3, negative 1, 2. Now we're going to go 4 in each direction. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. So I will connect these. Oops. Didn't do that so well. Let's try that again. I will connect these to make my, well, it's okay, kind of circle there. All right, these next two, well, these are going to be tough. You're going to have to go back and think of what you did last year when we completed the square, because my goal is to rearrange this whole equation right here to look like our equation for a circle. So I need to make this look like this. Oops, not sure what that did, but I need to make this look like x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals my r squared. Well, in order for me to do that, I need to separate out the x's and the y's. So x squared minus or plus 2x, I'm just rearranging this. And then I'm going to say plus y squared plus 2y equals 2. All right, so last year you learned the process of completing the square. I have in the math review section of my website, I have, and on the YouTube channel here, how to complete the square, and I've got examples for you there, so look for those videos if you need help. But the way to complete the square is I'm going to complete the square on this one, and I'm going to complete the square on this one. For this side, we're going to say x squared plus 2x, and I'm going to put plus blank. Then I'm going to say plus y squared plus 2y plus blank. Now, I've run out of room here. I wish I had a little bit more room. On the on the right side of the equation, I've got a 2, but then whatever I add here, I need to add here. So I'm going to need 2 blanks right there. So here's what goes in the blank. In order for us to complete the square, you take this number, 2, divide it by 2. So you take whatever value you have, divide it by 2, and then square it. So you take half of it and square it. So we take half this 2, we get 1. You take the 1 and you square it, you get 1. So that's what goes in the blank here. That's also a 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. 1 squared is 1. That's what goes in to the blanks there. And now we factor this. When we factor this part, we will get x plus 1 squared. When I factor this y squared plus 2y plus 1, when I factor it, I will get y plus 1 squared as well. So what ends up happening is whatever you divided it by 2, I got the 1, that's actually the number that's going to go in there. That's the whole part of the process of completing the square. On the other side, I'm just going to clean this up and write a 4. 2 plus 1 plus 1. So this becomes a center of -1, and a radius of 2. So there's my center, there's my radius. And now I can quickly sketch a graph of this. So this ends up being a center of -1, and a radius of 2. So I'm going to go 2 in each direction. 1, 2, 1, 2. And that would be my circle. All right, let's move on to the next one. I'm going to do a little bit of erasing here. We're going to erase, oops, wrong tool. We're going to erase these so I have, okay, so now I can continue on here. And let's take a look at what this one is. For this one, we've got, again, a situation where we have to complete the square. So I'm going to say x squared minus 3x plus blank plus y squared plus y plus blank equals the 5 halves plus our 2 blanks, because whatever I add to here, I have to add to the other side as well to keep it balanced. How do I find out what I add in there? I take this -3, I divide it by 2. That's my answer. Now I take the -3 halves and I square it, I'll get 9/4. So 9/4 goes here, 9/4 goes there. Let's use a different color for that. 9/4 and 9/4. Okay, for the other one, I'm going to take 1. I'm going to divide it by 2. I get 1/2. 1/2 squared gives me 1/4. So 1/4 here, 1/4 there. And now I need to factor each of these right here and right here. When I factor it, remember I told you it's what it's going to be when you divide it by 2. This will just be factored into x minus 3 halves squared. This will be factored into y minus or plus 1/2. It's whatever it was when you divided it by 2 squared equals, now on the right side I can add all these up. I could find a common denominator here, which would be 4. So I get 10/4 plus 9/4 plus 1/4. This would give me 20/4, which is 5. So my center is at -3 halves, comma 1/2. Sorry, is that +3 halves? Let's erase that. Let's fix that over here. This should be +1/2 and negative, or +3 halves and then -1/2. And then my radius is going to be the square root of 5. I'm going to save you guys the hassle of trying to graph this, because graphing the square root of 5 is going to be a bit difficult here. You would just have to change it to a decimal and work at it that way. So we're going to skip the graphing part of that. All right, so moving on to our last couple questions here. It says, prove or disprove the statement. The point -4, 4 lies on a circle centered with at the origin with a radius of 6. In order for me to prove or disprove, all I got to do is write the equation and see if it works. See if I can get this answer right here. So So centered at the origin, so that means h comma k will be 0 comma 0. And then the radius is 6. So my equation is x squared plus y squared equals 6 squared. Now let's see, if I put in this point, does it work? If I say negative 4 for x squared plus 4 for y squared, does this equal 36? So this becomes 16 plus 16. Does this equal the 36? And the answer there is no. So it does not lie on the circle that we have. All right, and moving on to our last problem over here. It says the point negative 1, 2 lies on the circle centered negative 4, 1 with a radius of 3 halves. So again, here's my h. Oops. Here's my h, there's my k. So x plus 4 squared, and then we're going to get y plus 1 squared equals 3 root 2 squared. So let's verify if this point, when x is negative 1 and y is 2, works. So negative 1 plus 4 squared plus 2 plus the 1 squared equals, this is going to be 9 times 2, so this will be 18. So let's see if this works. Over here I get 3 squared, which is 9, plus 3 squared, which is 9. Does this equal 18? Yes, it does. So yes, the point is on the circle. All right. Now, for the majority of these problems, they shouldn't be too bad. The completing the square ones, yes, you might have to go back and review a few of those concepts, but otherwise, hopefully it's not too bad for you guys. And we'll see you in, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next video.